call the meeting of the Ramsey County Commission order
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The year-end bills.
Minutes.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
there's been a motion and a second to approve minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Being none, motion carried. Approval of the year-end bills.
Is that both sets of minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
I move to approve the bills.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the bills and the year-end bills. Roll call, please.
One question. We got this sheet on here too?
Yep.
This whole sheet?
Yep.
Our mental health bill, our DSIC office, was in December of 14, we got the ongoing case or something.
That has been one ongoing case on a predator commitment action that started in 2014. It was an individual I prosecuted for gross sexual imposition a number of years ago. At the end of their prison sentence, the DOCR would do a risk assessment, and that risk assessment came out as a high risk in 2014. So we commenced the commitment process on him back then. It drug out for quite some time. We needed to do evaluations with our experts. They got extensions for their experts. Unfortunately, Defense Counsel saved it for one billing instead of just doing one in 2014, one in 2015, and now one in 2016.
Everything's legit there. Everything's legit.
Oh yes, he put a lot of time in. We had
Okay.
a 2-day trial and an appeal to the Supreme Court last week.
I didn't notice such a back date on it. That's all I have.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Aye.
Britt,
Aye.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye. Approval of agenda.
And I'd
Go ahead.
just like to add the visitors and delegations policy that we talked about in the last meeting, just so we can approve it. Talk about it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Being none, motion carried. Scott Wagner is up early, but he's here.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Scott Wagner with Ramsey Stewart Wagner Law Firm Bismarck. I'm here on behalf of Bremer Bank. Back in 2000, the county issued a MITA bond on behalf of Bernard Bergstrom for the Lake GM Auto Center project. We're not requesting a change to the bond, but Bremer Bank and the borrower, Bernard Bergstrom, are requesting that the borrower be changed on the bond from Bernard Bergstrom to an LLC that he has formed, RWB Investments LLC. Because the county issued the bond, we would need the county's approval to modify the loan agreement, to make the loan agreement with the LLC rather than Bernard Bergstrom, an individual. Just to back up, this bond was issued by the county so that it could be a tax exempt borrowing, which just means they could borrow at a lower interest rate. Only governments can issue tax exempt bonds, and in North Dakota, tax exempt bond offerings for non-governmental entities have to go through a city or county. It's called the MITA Bond Act, Municipal Industrial Development Act. The legislature allows cities and counties to issue on behalf of non-governmental entities if they qualify under federal tax law for tax exemption. This was such a project again back from 2010. And so you have a resolution in front of you which would allow the bond and loan agreement from 2010 to be modified. Again, the only purpose being changing the borrower.
I'll move to approve.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. And that motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Kevin's up.
Alright, try to make this quick. The house demolition, we have to go through the asbestos determination, and I called around and found somebody that could come tomorrow and do the testing, and he said that we should have the results by, well, he said a week, but it's the 27th or 28th. So then on the 20th, we have to have the demolition permit through the health department stating what he found on this test. And that has to be in place 10 days before we can start demolition. So we're looking at the middle of January, kind of, maybe the second week of January. So I got one bid, and I've asked 2 other contractors for bids. I haven't opened this one yet, I don't know if we want to open it tonight, but I'm waiting for 2 more, so if we could do that at the next meeting and still be okay, I think. And we did get okay from the city to dump it at their site, at the landfill for free. A couple of the contractors were talking about getting their own site, whatever. I said that's up to you, but that is a site you can use if you want to. So I'll have more update on that at the next meeting. And I should have all the paperwork in order by then too.
Thanks for taking the lead on that.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of out of my wheelhouse, so if I'm missing something, let me know. Yeah, one other thing I should mention is, all 3 of these contractors did tell me it's gonna be under 10,000. Once we reach that 10,000 threshold, we're supposed to advertise in the paper, but we're not gonna meet that threshold, just so you're aware of that. Okay, next thing I have is we had one project that was rejected by FEMA, or denied by FEMA. It was a grade raise that we did down in Odessa Township by Mike Dimler, Scott Dimler's. And it was because of, we didn't have a health permit. And we actually got the permit that was issued after, it was an after the effects type of permit. So we're appealing it, hopefully we'll get our appeal okay. The way it sounds by talking to the DES that they don't understand why it got denied, but there was about 6 or 7 of them throughout the state that got denied because of these health permits, but we actually had our permit. So we'll see where that goes, just so you guys are aware.
FEMA lose it or what?
Good question. As far as DES knows, they got it, but it was an after the fact permit, so that's what they're basing it. But we've had other numerous PWs that had after the fact permits, same situation that got approved throughout the state, not just us. So just so you're up to speed on that. I guess if you got any more questions on that, you can call me at work, at my office or whatever. And an update on our motor grader that was in Grand Forks getting fixed, had a broken ring on one of the pistons. They overhauled that engine and we should be getting that back tomorrow, I think. Thursday. Getting it back Thursday. Just to bring you up to speed on that. And then, any questions on that?
That was under warranty, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
thought
was.
it was, but
No cost to us. They brought us a loaner to use for rent-free. We did have to insure it, but that's the only thing we had to do.
how about the shipping back and forth?
They took care of that too.
Okay.
That was, when I wrote up the specs, that was part of the deal. And one other thing, I got a letter from Mike Connors, and I'll go ahead and read this to all everybody. It says, "Dear Commissioners, it's so easy to criticize and complain, but this letter is being written to say thank you to you and recognize the great work done by Gary Fenner maintaining our rural roads on a year-round basis. Gary is always courteous and does an excellent job of representing Ramsey County whenever he is contacted regarding road maintenance needs in our area of the county. Just before freeze-up, we had a mile of road that had been really broken up bad by farm semis hauling overweight loads. The same day I called him asking if he would check it out. He was working on the road with his blade, doing his best to clear up the problem. He then contacted me and requested I keep him advised of any further deterioration of the road bed. In the wintertime, when there's a storm, we know that Gary will be by as soon as possible to clear up our township road. Gary does an excellent job throughout the summer months, ensuring a smooth driving surface and protecting the road crown. Finally, there has never been a time when he is working that he does not greet everybody with a cheerful smile and wave from his machine. And then he goes on to say, I'm requesting a copy of this letter be placed in his personnel file for future reference. Mike Connor.
Those are always nice to see.
Yes,
Very good.
that's all I have, unless you have something for me.
Anybody have anything? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Old business, discussion on VSO joint powers of agreement. And talk about
I got an email from Bonnie, Benson County Auditor today, that there was no need to do a conference call. That they did vote, to approve the joint powers agreement. And the vote was 3-2. So each of the other counties are in favor.
And it's the same as we had, previously had it written, so it'll be 50, 25, 25.
No, we went by the figures, like the dollar figures, is what it comes out to 40, 30, 30.
Well, it's even less for us then.
Yes.
Really? I guess I didn't see that in the package.
Yep, it'd be on this, we have these sheets.
We've already approved this, right? Do we need a motion to
Well-
approve the new and improved version?
You approved it, but yet changes were made.
Okay,
The other two counties weren't in favor of it,
okay,
so I would do an emotion.
okay.
Nelson is fine with this?
Nelson has already signed it.
Edson's fine with it now?
They just had their meeting this morning.
Okay.
Yep.
I actually talked to Davey this morning too, so.
You're all right with it?
Yep.
Our veteran service officer, he understands what obligations he has in the other counties now? He understands what he has to get done.
Yep. You know, and it is on a yearly basis.
Correct.
I was gonna say, the parameters are still for 8 years, so we can review it this fall, or just come in winter and see how everything worked out.
Physically, you have to be over there in them two counties, how much?
I think it would equal out to be like 1 day a week.
1 day a week. And the other 3 days he's here?
Here.
Okay.
And I will-
And they understand that.
Yep, and I will find out what days he will be where.
And they understand that you'll take any emails or calls from Benson or Nelson County, even if he is here.
Yep.
Okay.
But they want someone in person there
Correct.
one day a week, so that, for the ones that can't travel and.
I think we better monitor this very closely. And is your portfolio, right, Mark? Yeah, we better have a monthly meeting, or a monthly report, I should say, not a meeting, a monthly report for a while. I would definitely.
Yeah, he does that report anyhow, so we'll just.
Yeah, I
make
think
sure
we
he
should
can,
be
yeah,
visiting with him.
Yep.
At least every month. See how it's going, maybe communicate with the other chairmen.
yep, I can do that.
Yeah, that's good advice.
We don't wanna get down
Yeah,
5
see-
months into
see
this.
Yeah, no,
I would blow up.
Yeah, just, if we have to do any adjustments or anything, we can do it right away then, make sure it's working for them.
yeah, he'll need to figure out what day he wants to be where.
Yeah, I'm sure
Then we'll get that posted, and then the other counties can get theirs posted. Yep, we can monitor it from there.
Probably a good idea for the, them papers in their counties to advertise when he's gonna be in their building.
Yeah.
And you could even advertise in the journal when he's gonna be in this building.
Absolutely.
Put it on the website too. Yep. And then I'll help him or help do a sign on the.
Probably a lot of veterans that don't use the website.
No, well, but there's other ones that are.
There's other ways.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
free there.
Yep.
Good.
I can even send something to the radio.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to give this a little help to make it work.
And to address the 25 to 30% change,
Mm-hmm.
that was their issue this morning. And David had talked to them, that they're Benson County veterans, they're still coming to Ramsey County, so they felt that, they were still getting their money's worth, if that's the right word. So that's why it went up to 30 from 25 to 30, so. It's just because he's sitting in one county or another doesn't mean that he's going to neglect.
Yeah,
there are
he
two
should
counties
still
at
take-
that time,
he still
yep.
takes calls, and still
Yep.
does business for him.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Need a motion to approve it then?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the joint powers agreement with VSM.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Okay.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the Veteran Service Officers Joint Powers of Agreement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Being none, motion carried. Discussion on hiring state's attorney and wage. Any thoughts?
I guess we should start by saying, does everyone feel comfortable having had enough time to consider it and all of that? Just,
Yes.
I believe so. We did discuss at our meeting last Wednesday, do we want to talk about wages and everything in the open, or do we want to do executive session, or are we okay with doing it the way we're doing it?
I think with the way executive session is set up, that's only for threatened or pending litigation. I don't think it goes to negotiation.
And that's fine with me, I just wanted to make sure, because we just, I don't know who brought it up last week, but we just.
I did,
Yeah,
yeah.
just out of thought, so.
So I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's not like they're not gonna know right away what the wages
It's
is.
public record anyway.
Yeah.
Are there any thoughts on considerations or?
I'll just start by saying, the three candidates we had were all qualified, they all interviewed well. I think, like we talked about last Wednesday, some of it's gonna come down to, who are we comfortable with and how they plan on running their office. Everyone had positives and negatives, I shouldn't say negatives, but just differences in how they feel to handle the job, so I mean, it was, but they all interviewed well, I was impressed with them, so. I don't know how everybody else feels, but.
I would concur with those thoughts. I was impressed with all three, and I thought they interviewed well.
I think the interviews went well, but one that stuck out to me, and that's Carrie Rockins. I think she'd make an excellent state's attorney for Ramsey County.
I would agree with that. That was kind of my feeling after coming out of the interviews, that she was, I thought, the superior candidate once we got through, and the one that I felt most comfortable with. So,
I would echo that sentiment as well. I think that when it came to answering the questions succinctly and clearly, that I really felt that she did a really great job laying out both, the way that the position stands in the county, and also what opportunities we might have to do more with the resources that are available. And I thought that she was very forward-thinking and very administrative in the ideas that she sort of laid out. And I really felt comfortable with the idea of her taking the position of state's attorney as well.
So I guess with that, I'd make a motion that we offer the position to Carrie Rockins for state's attorney. If you'd like, you can include a salary within that.
I would second that motion. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff, on what salary were you thinking? What step, I guess?
Well, I guess step 7, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay. Adam, did you have a thought?
No, I was just gonna ask what, you know, obviously she has different experience, you know, coming in, so what would we usually give somebody of that, experience on a step schedule, you know?
I guess we haven't had.
Yeah, we don't really have,
Yeah.
we don't have a precedent, you know?
So,
No,
I would,
you know, I mean, that's kind of why I started at a 4, because of, you
Yeah.
know, the other 2, but, I mean, this is,
I think she's bringing in, what, 8 or 9?
She has 8 years of experience,
Yeah, this
according
is-
to her
I would be
resume.
in favor of coming in at the
you
8.
know,
I would agree.
Step 8,
Okay,
that's
I would agree.
on this page that everybody has, right?
yeah.
Comes in at $85,632.
I also would be in agreement with.
Yeah, I'm
But,
comfortable.
you know,
with that
between
level.
7 and 8, and, you know, I'm comfortable with 8. I think she brings a lot of, you know, lots of different experience to the table. You know, I know she doesn't quite fit the mold, but I think she shines in other areas that, you know, we don't see behind the scenes, so to speak.
I think the administrative experience that she brings to the table is gonna be very beneficial, and, you know, Lonnie probably could attest to the administrative duties that his job requires,
And it's going to get a lot more complex with Marcy's Law.
right?
That's going to be a very complicated process for the new state's attorney to take over. There's a lot of logistics that are going to be involved with that. And I can see that, you know, over the past 26 years, we haven't had a lot of automation. There's a new state's attorney's management program that the state has put together that we haven't jumped into yet because of the data entry time. However, that's changing with the second paralegal that the commission has approved, which is going to be really necessary for, number one, Marcy's Law. Number two, with the cuts in the court system, I can sense that there's going to be a lot of court orders and pleadings that are going to be transferred from the juvenile court system across the state's attorney's office. So it's going to be really necessary to get a lot more automation, and Carrie would be very much up to speed with that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that impressed me in her interview, because she touched on the fact that that second paralegal is going to be very important when it comes to the Marcy's Law applications, when it comes to, you know, moving over to more automation, and you could really tell that she thought about an overall plan for what she wanted to do with the office previous to coming in. She was prepared and ready to go. You could just tell she had her mind in the right place, so.
Good point, Adam. Did we, are we gonna put this in the figure in the motion, or are we gonna make another motion to the side?
Well, it sounds like everybody's kind of in agreement, so
Okay.
if you made the motion,
Yep, I would include that in my motion.
you going with 8?
8, step 8.
I would second that.
Okay, there's a motion and there's a second. Roll call, please.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye. Motion carried.
Is she in the building?
She had a different commitment outside of the area tonight, so she's not around this evening. I know I saw her leaving late this afternoon.
So will you be making contact with her right away in the morning then, or this evening? or-
I can yet tonight.
Okay, well, email us when she
Yep.
gives you an answer, so that's cool.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so if by some chance we need to start over again,
Yep.
we can do it briskly.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Discussion on assistant state's attorney.
I did visit with Lauren about the vacation sick leave that you asked me to check in with her. And she feels what Chuck Porter, you know, what he recommended, she's okay with.
Start her out at the 10-year employer.
Start her out at like 12 hours of vacation and 8 hours of sick leave.
She's been with us for over 20 years in a part-time state
Well-
attorney position, one way or another, since the early 90s.
She's been on the county payroll for 10 or 12.
And that's in the basically 75–80% realm. Prior to that, we were contracting with the law firm to do 1 or 2 days a week in juvenile court, and that started in '93, '94.
And Chuck's recommendation was basically to start her at about half of the year, since she's just sliding to full-time now.
Just to meet in the middle.
I'll make a motion, that's where we start her, we'll start her at the 10-year scale.
I would second that.
There's a motion and a second to start Lauren at a 10-year scale. Do we have a roll call on that one too, please?
Brown,
I,
Brett,
I,
Lightfoot.
Aye.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye, motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing I should mention about that house. For right now, we're just taking bids to remove the structure. We're not gonna fill the hole in because of frozen ground and hard to get fill, and so we'll just put fence around it. We'll put the fence around it ourselves, and then next spring we'll have to do this again to get rid of the hole, get the hole filled and black dirt hauled in.
At least we'll get the building done well though, so it's fire safety and everything is taken care of.
Just so you're aware of that.
And with a fence around it, say if some kid were to fall in, that would not be a county liability issue?
It would be, but I guess it'd be safer than what it is now.
Sure.
It's not gonna
Yeah.
fall through the floor and end up in the basement.
Right.
Yeah, somebody could walk in now and do something there.
And there was a lady that had contacted me about, I don't know if she notified any of you guys, about wanting to purchase the house. It was something about it having to be in the, did I visit with you about that? Having to
No,
be in the
Mr. Moore did.
city's, yeah, in the city's name for like 90 days or something to do a quiet title. And, I mean, I explained to her, I said, I don't believe that we're gonna be waiting 90 days.
There's nothing left there, guys. I don't know if you looked at it yourself.
Yeah.
city's name, you said?
Well, she wanted so that it would be a quiet title,
Yeah.
you know, and
Is there a redemption period?
Candy might know, I don't know.
I don't think so, not with foreclosure. Is there redemption? No.
I know there's some redemption periods built in, but I'd have to take a look at the
Yeah.
statute and double check.
My guess is we're past that, but.
I'm sure we're way past that.
Yeah.
My only question would be is if we allowed somebody to buy it for whatever the minimum bid would be, we can't put a stipulation that the house gets torn down, can we? Since it's condemned, we should be able to.
I think
shouldn't we?
so.
But I don't think it's condemned yet. I don't think the
Well,
city ever
that's-
condemned it.
Oh, well,
I don't think they follow through.
okay, well, yeah, that's my only problem with it, because we don't wanna sell it in its current state, and then all of a sudden, the house is still sitting there.
We have a piece of property that kinda has that issue.
Commissioner
We
Lightfoot pointed out something that years past, a number of years ago, we had situations come up where we were looking into taking down buildings on property that had been sent back for back taxes. And when we did sell them, it seemed like they were never moved, and we still continue dealing with them. And so it's always a problem when you try to do things that way.
I mean, I guess I'm of the opinion that if the city has looked at it, and, you know, they've told us that this needs to be taken care of, and we need to take care of it before we get the property, it's just that simple.
I think I made a statement last meeting that this property would be more valuable with that house gone
Well, I think it would be.
to anybody,
Sure.
county.
Yep.
So we want to make sure the house is gone.
I agree.
Okay,
Should we put the visitors delegations under old business since we talked about it before?
we can do that, we can do that.
And I'll just say, at our last, not last meeting, but our last regular meeting on, first meeting of the month when we talked about installing visitors delegations, again, I stated that I would write up a policy basically talking about exactly what we specified in our discussion, so that's basically what I have here. If anybody in the crowd wants one, you can have one, I guess.
Why don't you read it out loud, Adam?
Yeah, I'll set them here too, so people can grab it if they want one. Basically, it's just, it says, visitors and delegations policy shall be as follows. Number one, visitors and delegations shall be an included portion of all regularly scheduled county commission meetings and will occur at the end of new business on the agenda. Number two, speaking time shall be limited to 5 minutes per visitor or delegation at the discretion of the chairperson. Number 3, the topic presented by the visitor or delegation must pertain to the purview of county commission business. Number 4, no individual may use the visitors and delegations portion of the meeting more than one time per every 6 meetings to advance the same topic. And that's all there.
One question, under, you want it behind new business or old business?
New business, because we talked about wanting to put it at the end of the meeting, and I think we should have it after new business before the announcements and everything like that, so we don't make the, because that's where we decided to insert it at the last meeting, so I just followed what
Okay.
we were talking about.
Well, you got it on here.
Yeah, we have it done under the new business now, so that's kind of how I wrote it.
No, I think that's the proper place.
Well, this is just a,
Okay.
we're
No,
gonna
that's
change
fine.
something, or
That's
I just wrote it up so we have it.
I will move to approve the adoption of the policy as stated.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the visitors and delegation portion and put it before new business. After new business. You like right word, yes. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, and motion carries. Approve village contract. That would be Candy.
It is a contract that we have with the village every year for any services that are needed. They do come in and do seminars or
Training.
yeah, training seminars, yeah, on different topics if we request.
How many on-site sessions do we get a year usually? That's not too bad for the price then. And I sat in on one of the sessions last year and it was really good, I thought, so.
Yeah, webinars.
Yeah, and they have webinars too, so it's just access to it. I think it's a good thing. I'll make a motion to approve the contract, and it's for $2,070, correct?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
There's a motion, is there a second? to
Second.
approve? There's a motion and a second to approve the village in contract. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is it a roll call?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Yeah.
Good call.
Roll call, please.
Brown,
We've used it, we had 2 sessions, have we used it any other times? We have?
we
Yep.
used the
We
village
have the
when we
ones.
had the tax directors.
Okay.
Yep.
Not any other times?
No,
Oh, they said
well,
we
we just signed with them like a couple of years ago.
They do send out a monthly newsletter,
Yeah.
that's pretty informative.
Aye.
Okay. Lightline.
Aye.
Frith,
I,
Wakefield,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye. Motion carried. Approve the Sunday liquor license and beer license. Just for your info here. So, motion to approve? There's a
second,
motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Being none, motion carried. Approved letter of transfer.
Can I ask you a question just on the beer license, on the liquor license real quick?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I know we already voted on it, but is that pertaining to the new, our new rates? Did we change the rates in the fee schedule? No. It was all the same, correct?
It was all the
Okay,
same.
that's what I was just double checking. I thought we didn't change anything when we switched over the ordinance.
And I'm not sure about, Wally. You know,
Yeah,
I
okay. That's okay. I just wanted to double check.
haven't heard anything from him, so
Okay, very good, thank you.
I guess we'll,
He's on the list here. no?
yeah, but I mean, I just put them all on there,
Previously.
you know, and whether he brings in the money and pays for it, I don't know. I don't know if he's open for business or not, so
You know, periodically seem to place open.
periodically,
Yeah.
okay.
What we got, transfer?
Yep.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the letter of transfer. All in favor, signify, let's have a roll call on that one.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Frith,
I,
Olson.
Aye.
That's just moving funds from one account to another.
Yep,
Just
we do it every month.
Approve the raffle permit for International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second.
Oh, who's one?
Jeff can have it.
Okay,
Either way.
okay.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion carried. Approve the homestead credit from Jerome Bach.
Just one question previous to it. We have it checked as other under qualifying homestead credit, why didn't it qualify under the number 9? Any idea? Sorry, I asked.
What was your question now?
Well, we have number 10 checked as other,
Right. And then
but number 9 is property
qualified.
qualifies for homestead credit, and on 10 it's qualifying homestead credit.
Right.
Yeah,
So I was just wondering if it was somebody filled out the paperwork incorrectly, or what, what
yeah,
the deal is on
this
it.
came from the city, yeah.
And this came from the city. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
From the city?
yeah, it should be number 9.
is there, if we send it in this way, the state's gotta look at it too, don't
They don't look at,
They don't look at
they don't
this.
look at this, no, it's the other paperwork
they? I
that
just
we
was
have.
questioning it.
Yeah.
There's another
See
little
that?
boo-boo on the bottom where they signed too.
Yeah, you signed it in the
Yeah.
wrong place too, so
Yeah.
maybe it was somebody's first time filling out the
Yep.
form or something.
Well, and I have an additional question to that. At the end of number 9, it says attach a copy of the application. Do we have that attached?
This is it.
That
This
would
is
be-
the
that
application.
is-
Is it?
Yeah, the other
What
part
a
is
what a
like,
weird thing to have as a,
the other part would be like financial numbers and figures. What would qualify him
okay.
for that?
I'll move to approve.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion carried. Visitors and delegations? Anybody wish to speak? Come on, Rodney, you got something.
Well, the only thing I can say is that I think we should have the maintainers where these snowbanks are, go out in the field and ridge it up a little bit. I see Benson County did some in theirs over here, and it's really helping.
We do that for charge, yeah.
Well,
Not all you have to do is request it.
Through the townships.
Yep.
but I mean, I think it's a good idea because, like today,
Yeah, it's really.
there was 2/3 of the road, there was snow over it at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, grew a lot during the night.
Yep.
We'll be happy to do it, they just gotta let us know where it is.
Are all of the townships aware that that's an option?
I don't know, good question. We're not
Probably, yeah.
allowed them to do it.
Yeah, maybe just give them a heads up, that's something we would do, just so they know, and maybe they'll give us a call. You can get a little more business, and it'll help out. the
The only thing, we don't do it on a winter week round, of course.
Yeah, of course, makes sense. Thanks, Rodney.
Any announcements?
I may have needed to have brought this up at the start of this, but I was wondering if the commission wanted to collectively address Mrs. Schliev's letter. And I suppose, because I've referenced it now, I should read it out loud. To the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners, as a Ramsey County citizen, I was very disappointed with both the conduct of Veteran Services Officer Stacy Tweet and the complete lack of response or action by the commission when informed. Mr. Tweet is a public service employee and represents the county. This requires that he maintain proper demeanor when dealing with the public. His treatment of the woman caller was completely inappropriate and must violate at least one of Ramsey County employee policies. In my job, I must treat convicted murderers, rapists, and child molesters with respect, despite what I may personally feel. Mr. Tweet certainly should have been able to handle what was thrown at him. All he had to do was politely tell the woman that he could not do what she was asking, and tell her multiple times if necessary. He then could have asked if he could provide her with any assistance within his job abilities and thank her for the call. The reaction from the commission, or non-reaction, was just as appalling. Even after hearing Mr. Tweet proudly report his inept handling of the phone call and then hearing him throw in a clearly racial comment, the board did nothing. Ramsey County has already been found liable for a sexist comment from a board member. Who knows what's going to end up costing taxpayers in the long run, aside from the embarrassment. Now it seems that the board is willing to go for a twofer and throw in racism by county employees on work time as acceptable behavior. Mr. Tweet may well be great at his job and otherwise maintain a neutral and proper work setting, but that seems hard for me to believe considering he was proud with the way this incident went down. But not all of your tax-paying citizens are willing to condone this behavior or the board's lack of response. I forwarded the Devils Lake Journal's Facebook post on this matter to a friend who is a recent retiree from a lifelong job employment with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. This was his response. As a public service employee, his comments and how he handled himself on the phone and going so far as to hang up on her would be grounds for any number of disciplinary actions, from written counseling to admonishment and or reprimand. His conduct and behavior is totally unacceptable for a public employee. Also, this guy's supervisor has a responsibility to address his inappropriate conduct and behavior. As one of your constituents, I am requesting that the board publicly address this matter and how they plan to handle the situation, both to educate Mr. Tweet and themselves. I think the board would, in the future, want to handle these types of situations in a way that they don't once again leave the county open to embarrassing publicity and or potentially costly lawsuits.
Who signed it?
And it was signed by Lori Schlee.
Lori Schlee.
And I would add to that letter that I personally received phone calls with other people concerned about what was said, and so when this letter appeared on our desks, I felt that it should be at least read before public record.
Okay. I did have a discussion with Stacy about it, we talked about it, and, I guess, I don't know what else we can do. I did tell him it was in poor judgment, and, that he represents Ramsey County, and
I'll just make the comment that I appreciate Commissioner Whitfield reading it. And, I agree with much of what this letter says. It wasn't, I don't believe, our proudest moment not saying anything. I think most of us were caught off guard when it happened quickly. We should have said something at the time, but that being said, I don't think necessarily airing out personnel matters in a public meeting is necessarily the best way to handle things either. And that's why I feel it's right for the portfolio holder to deal with it. And maybe as a commission, we should come up with a plan on how we should handle it. In terms of maybe there's some kind of through the village, some kind of a training, something like that, and just something so, it shouldn't go unnoticed, let's put it that way. There should be some kind of an improvement plan put in place. I think this partially shows us, if we had some more HR background, some more help, it would give us a lot more knowledge and a lot more ability to handle these situations in a more professional manner.
I actually agree with everything that Adam just said, and I think that it's important to note that because we don't have a designated HR person working for the county currently, that means that any sort of infraction with regards to employee conduct basically stops here in the commission and in a very public setting, and I would agree with Commissioner Lipon that not every employee's issues with following the policies of this county need be aired in front of public record. And so I would go on to state that I think that this really emphasizes the importance of having someone who can handle these HR issues on behalf of the county and on behalf of this commission.
That's why I asked if we'd use the village. I think that would be a very good route to go with a situation like this.
Yeah, I agree, and, you know, we have.
I don't think we're using it enough.
No, I agree. We used them in the past to do mediation in situations. I just think it would be, you know, I think as a whole, and I don't want to put Candy on the spot here, but, you know, in the county commission, in the county sense, the auditor's office is always, it's kind of fallen on them to be the HR personnel, to keep up the personnel files and do that, and it's really not your job, to be blatantly honest. And it's just kind of been, you know, it needs to happen, so the auditor steps up and gets it done usually. And in a county of our size, with the amount of employees we have, I just think it's an awful lot to ask of the auditor to stay on top of employment law, to stay on top of personnel files and all of those things without any kind of help. At the very least, we need some kind of background, some kind of backup for, so when you have a question, and especially in this, if we had HR, we could say, this is what occurred, we want to handle it in-house, talk to the HR person, come up with an improvement plan, put it in their file, make sure it's completed, signed off, and hopefully we don't have a problem in the future because of the improvement plan. That would be what my thought is.
I thought we were all very happy with our HR person.
Yeah, Chuck did a very nice job in
For
it.
the interview process with our state's attorney position.
Yeah.
I think it worked out real well. But I think we should still look at the village.
Yeah, I agree.
Sensitivity and things like that.
Would it be, and I talked to Chuck just about, not specifically this situation, but after the meeting last Wednesday about, you know, what it would take to hire maybe them some kind of a part-time situation, you know, on a contract hours basis or something like that. He made it sound as though they're pretty booked up already. I think we could still probably talk them into it, but I think it's something we should pursue long-term and maybe short-term, and see if there's some kind of way we can get an improvement plan put together or something, some kind of training through the village, I think would be a good place to start, and have Stacy do some kind of work that way. And I'd like to reiterate, I think Stacy does generally a very good job, but
Yeah, I think.
he's knowledgeable,
You know-
but you know what, all of us have deficits, and there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, it's a problem, let's work on it, let's get it better, let's move forward.
Personal and professional development goes a long ways, and I think that if the village is able to come up with some sort of, you know, whether it be a webinar, whether it be a personal sit-down meeting with Mr. Tweet, but I agree with the letter, and I'm surprised that we didn't get more, you know, to be quite honest. I happened to be on that meeting, and when I watched back the tape, I was a bit taken back by it, by his comment and how freely it flowed off his lips. You know, and like earlier in the meeting, we had a accommodation for Mr. Fenner on the job well done, and recommending that letter be placed in his personnel file. I think this one should also be placed in Mr. Tweet's personnel file, along with some sort of correction action plan as well. And if we want to, you know, set something up and discuss that at our next regular meeting with Mr. Tweet present, or if they want to leave that to his portfolio commissioner, Mr. Olson, to deal with.
I think for now, it's probably more appropriate that Commissioner Olson sort of take care of this. But I think in addition to what we just talked about human resources, another thing that concerns me is that without policies in place for how we go about either reprimanding or righting these wrongs, we risk being very arbitrary with our judgments. And I think that this also iterates the need for, in addition to someone to handle human resources, probably a more comprehensive list of policies and responses to infractions.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, we do have in the employee handbook, it does have, you know, listings specifically of what would be a disciplinary offense. And this does fall under disciplinary offense.
But we don't have
But
a
we
list
don't
of
have any kind
responses
of
to that.
responses, and I think, I agree that I think it's not a bad idea to go down that road and see if there's something we can do, but every situation is going to be very different. It's gonna be very hard to write something that we're gonna do this, I mean, but it's something we should at least talk about.
Sure, but and just because something would be difficult to write doesn't mean it's worth writing.
No,
I mean, certainly, you know, the United States Constitution couldn't have couldn't have accounted for every single thing that would happen in the United States, but it still works as a governing document, you know, so I,
A little bit of hard work to get it done. Yeah, but I would agree too, I think that Mark being the portfolio holder should work with Andy on talking with the village, come up with some kind of a plan through them. And if you have to, talk to Chuck, you know, because he can work as our backup right now, get something together for him, and then we can talk about it with Stacy at the next meeting.
Yep,
Sure.
so I can send her an email.
Perfect. Very good.
And then, you know, if you want me to bring it forth at the next meeting, I can do that too.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
My better judgment tells me I should not comment on this, but I'm going to. There was a quote in this letter that Ramsey County has already been found liable for a sexist comment from a board member. Ramsey County has not been found liable for a comment, and at this time, there is no legal pending issues with the law enforcement center or Ramsey County. I just wanted to get this right. Is there any other announcements? Any issues?
Everyone come to the college and watch my sons.
Do we get a cheer?
Be quiet. Just say that. 7 o'clock, come watch this Christmas concert.
Okay.
I went to 2 last week, that's
oh, come on,
They were
never
good.
gets like a Christmas.
They were good.
Yeah.
Oh, don't forget
My wife
Sunday.
was on.
Yeah, but Ed, don't forget Sunday at church.
I went for 3 and
Yeah.
I've already been one.
Well, you're in a festive spirit.
Good to go.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.